I am here in San Diego, Fighter Town, USA, the home of Top Gun, the movies. The real Top Gun school moved to Nevada like 30 years ago. But if Pete Maverick Mitchell taught us anything, it's that this is the perfect place to ride some sick motorcycles. Since it launched, the Yamaha R7 has been a bit of a contradiction. On one hand, it's Yamaha's best-selling motorcycle. On the other, it's been the target of some of the loudest complaints in the middleweight world. Critics called it super sport uncomfortable without super sport performance, a bike with R6 ergonomics but an MT-07 heart, lacking the tech, the frame rigidity, and the top-end scream that we've come to expect from Yamaha's R series. For 2026, Yamaha is swinging back. They didn't just change the graphics, they went after every single one of those budget complaints. They took that compliant chassis and replaced it with a new high-tensile steel frame that's 12% more rigid. They ditched the dated LCD for a 5-inch TFT with full navigation. And they finally gave the R7 a brain, a 6-axis IMU with lean-sensitive traction, slide, and lift control. But here's the catch. Part of the R7's charm was its genius simplicity. The Gen 1 R7 was an analog tool in a digital world. By adding ride-by-wire cruise control and a suite of electronics, did Yamaha finally build the R6 successor we've been asking for? Or in the process of sharpening the blade, did they lose the handle? Has all this new technology, the ride modes, the lean sensitive aids, the cruise control, distracted from the genius simplicity of the first generation? A sport bike needs to be stable and capable, but what made the R7 special was that it was also something that you could live with on the day-to-day. So today, we're heading out to chase down some world-famous San Diego canyons and see if this is a redemption story or if the R7 has lost its soul in the pursuit of a spec sheet. So yeah, let's go for a ride.
Yamaha tells me this is their best-selling motorcycle, not best-selling street bike, not best-selling sport bike, best-selling motorcycle. So this is an important model for them.
It's a bold claim, but the numbers back it up. In a world where 200 horsepower superbikes are becoming unattainable for the average rider, the R7 stepped in to fill the void left by the R6. But while the sales were there, the MT-07 in a tracksuit criticisms were loud. For 2026, Yamaha isn't just trying to maintain that sales lead, they're trying to silence the skeptics by separating the R7's identity from its naked bike sibling.
And I think it shows, going through the tech briefing, everything that has changed on this motorcycle, well, it's basically everything has changed on this motorcycle. They said the only thing that's the same is the engine itself. Throttle bodies have changed, airbox, chassis, suspension, swing arm. It's a completely new motorcycle.
The elegance really starts under the skin. The headline is that new high-tensile steel tubular frame. The real magic is in the geometry. Yamaha actually increased the trail slightly for 2026. It doesn't sound like much. Rake increased a subtle 0.3 of a degree to 24 degrees, but that pushed the trail out over 2.5 millimeters, just enough to settle the bike down when the pace comes up. When you combine that with the chassis upgrades and the new asymmetrical swing arm, you get a bike that doesn't feel so much like it's completely transformed, but more like it's better suited to what it wants to be.
They changed the shape of the velocity stack on the top of the airbox, which supposedly gives it a little bit more mid-range, but I think more importantly for, the real-world rider. Better intake noise. We all talk about exhaust noise. I'm sorry, intake noise is better than exhaust noise. So it's fantastic being able to hear a little bit of that come up through the gas tank. Or we're going to have to lane split. I'm not going to be able to chat too much here for a second. Give me a moment.
When we're out on a ride, we're usually focused on the road, not the frame. But if you want your content to stand out, you need those big cinematic establishing shots that set the stage and give your viewers context. And this is exactly where the anti-gravity A1 comes in. The biggest headache with traditional drones is nailing the framing while you're trying to manage a group or a specific location. With the A1, that worry is gone. This is the world's first all-in-one 8K 360 drone. You just get it in the air and it captures everything in every direction. You don't have to frame the shot perfectly in the moment because you can fly first and frame later. But get this is easily The easiest drone I have ever flown. The free motion controller, you literally just point where you want it to go and pull the trigger. It's intuitive, stable, and at only 249 grams, it's small enough to go with you on your motorcycle. But even better, it's about to get even more capable. In mid-April, the U3 firmware update is dropping, bringing a new era of creative flight. This update introduces omnidirectional obstacle avoidance for full 360-degree protection and a new voice assistant that lets you control the drone with simple commands, making it safer and even easier to use so you can get the shot you want without ruining your ride. So not only is the headset flying mind-blowingly immersive, it's even less stressful. But here's the best part. Right now, Anti-Gravity is running their massive spring sale, and you can get the A1 for 20% off. That's a huge savings on a tool that instantly triples your production value. That 20% discount makes this the perfect time to upgrade your gear bag. Don't struggle with traditional drones. Use the link in the description or scan the QR code and grab your A1 at a 20% off discount during this spring sale. Now, as an added bonus, if you use my link, you'll also receive a free anti-gravity landing pad as a gift. Hit the link, elevate your content, and simplify your workflow today. To fully understand why I'm personally so excited about this 26 update, we have to look at the name on the fairing. In 1999, the original Yamaha R7, the OW02, was a $32,000 homologation exotic built for one thing: winning World Superbike Championships. That would be around $75,000 in today's numbers. Only 500 R7s were ever produced worldwide, making it one of the rarest and most legendary machines in Yamaha's history. I've only ever seen one in real life. It was rare, it was special, and it was pure racing DNA. So when Yamaha brought the name back a few years ago, a lot of purists struggled with it. They saw a parallel twin street bike and felt it was a massive departure from its namesake. But what I love about this 2026 update is how Yamaha's being a little more honest about bridging the gap between something practical and livable and something with some race DNA. On this new R7, that race pedigree isn't just a marketing label anymore. Yamaha seems to have realized that for this bike to truly bridge that gap, it needed to be as easy to work on in a hot paddock as it is to ride on a cool Sunday morning.
Cool breeze across the top of my noggin.
They know this bike has already become a staple in club racing and a favorite for dedicated track day riders. I know more than one person who's picked up a first-gen R7 as a second bike specifically for track days and club racing. So for 26, Yamaha has clearly leaned into that with specific track accoutrements that make life in the paddock so much easier. We're talking about revised chain adjusters on the swing arm for faster maintenance or trackside gearing changes, and a pre-drilled mounting boss that lets you swap to a GP shift pattern in about 30 seconds. They even updated the third generation quick shift system to work perfectly with that inverted pattern, even under heavy deceleration. It's finally starting to feel like the R7 badge represents more than a marketing exercise. It's a nod to that original racing spirit, just modernized for today's budgets.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with what Yamaha has done with this motorcycle. There was nothing wrong with the first one. Every upgrade they've done seems to have improved the motorcycle in a meaningful way. And I'm not just talking like all the really nice, cute stuff, right? Like, I love the dash. The Theme 3 is the prettiest gauge I think I have ever looked at. It's just like so well thought out, well put together, the way the switch pod is assembled here. It's, I'm jumping from bike to bike all the time. This is so intuitive and easy to navigate. I'm comfortable going through the menus. The mode button is so easy to access. The fact that there's the racy mode where I can hit the mode and change my traction control and ABS settings on the fly. When you're doing a track day, sometimes you feel your tire coming off or the temperature will drop or whatever. It's dynamite to be able to I'm going to bump up the traction control. That's a feature that's normally only ever found on near $20,000 motorcycles. And here it is on a bike that's $9,300, $9,400. I think you're getting a lot for your money with this R7. And in today's world where our dollars are being stretched so tight, this is a delight. I love it.
The new 5-inch TFT features a dedicated track theme, and the bike is now compatible with the Y-Track Rev app. This is essentially a virtual pitboard that allows your crew to send real-time communications like pit OK or lap time targets directly to your dashboard while you're at full lean. It's professional-level racing tech brought down to an attainable middleweight package. And if racing isn't your thing, that same electronics package allows you to pair your phone to the bike for on-screen updates or my favorite, Garmin GPS turn-by-turn map directions right on the screen that's already in your line of sight.
Now, I haven't spent as much time on Yamahas on the street. Usually my time on Yamahas is track focused. I love I love their new turn signal configuration. It might be the best turn signal configuration I have ever used on any motorcycle. Copy Yamaha's turn signals. Just fantastic. A little half push gives you 3 blinks. A full push gives it full blinks and self-canceling. But it's just so, this is funny. It's so intuitive. They're exactly where you want them to be. It's the easiest turn signal I've ever used. We're like a gang.
So while the tech went up, Yamaha also went to work on the Supersport uncomfortable complaint. One of the big issues about the Gen 1 R7 was the clutch actuator hitting your leg, so they rotated it forward, which is so much better. They've also revised the riding position. The clip-ons are 8.5 millimeters further back, 3.5 millimeters higher, and they're 12 millimeters wider. The fuel tank is 10 millimeters shorter at the seat junction and slimmer at the knee grip, while being capable of holding 1 more liter of fuel. Now, some may say these changes are just for comfort, but I suspect it's really about making the bike fit a wider scale of riders. Yes, it's more accessible for the street, but more comfortable also translates to quicker lap times. When you have more room to move your body weight forward and rearward and to the side, and a deeper pocket for your knees and elbows, you have better control of the bike. It's still 100% a sport bike, but they've added features that make it a much better real-world companion, like the integrated cruise control for those long freeway hauls to the good roads.
You tap the big button here. We were just talking about how intuitive the switchgear is. It lights up, and then just like your car, you hold down on the toggle for a second, and now cruise control is set at 73 miles an hour. And that's fantastic, right? We can just cruise along. But what's more interesting to me than the cruise control is if I hit the cruise control button twice, 1, 2, it goes into a speed limiter mode. And I can set my max speed the same way. I hold down on the toggle, it set the max speed at whatever speed we're going, and now I won't exceed that. So now I can't go any faster than 75 miles an hour. And honestly, for me, that's more valuable to me than a cruise control. I wish that was something every single motorcycle had. There's so many situations when, motorcycles are quick and capable, and I'm comfortable at speed, but I don't want to get a speeding ticket. And it'd be nice to have something be like, hey, don't go more than 5 over the posted limit. Nice touch, Yamaha. I really appreciate that.
With the CP2 engine's linear power and the new suite of lean-sensitive rider aids, the R7 is remarkably new rider-friendly. If you're stepping up from an R3, this is the logical next chapter. But depending on your background and comfort level, the R7 is approachable enough to be a decent first bike, especially now that it has a lean-sensitive IMU brain to help manage traction. But the special trait of this 26 model is that it's so capable, it remains genuinely entertaining for experienced riders. I would happily keep this as a second bike just for the pure mid-weight mechanical connection and impressive track day capabilities.
One of the first thoughts riding this more modern R7 is this is what I always wanted my old SV650 to be. It's more refined. It has that nice mid-range torque. It handles really nicely, but it's neutral planted, stable, precise, really a more real-world sport bike. I mean, they call it a super bike. It's hard to call it a super bike. To my mind, super bikes are like encroaching on 200 horsepower. It's really refreshing to be on something that's really kind of fun and playful and plucky, that doesn't have so much power that it can be overwhelming sometimes. This is like an eager, I don't know, I use this line all the time on the Instagram. It's an eager dance partner. It's a bike I really want to spend some time with. And what's not to love about that?
In my experience, nothing builds confidence in a bike like a front end that is stable, predictable, and gives constant feedback. Yamaha even went as far as softening the fork springs and giving them better valving, as well as replacing the steel piston rods in the fork with aluminum. It's a series of small surgical tweaks that focused on a specific part of the package, but the result is a massive improvement in braking stability, and that stability is especially noticeable during steep downhill braking events. But more real world, when you're trail braking into a corner, the bike isn't just handling it or predictable, it feels like it's talking to you. That communication from the front end is exactly what makes the ride through these canyons feel so different than the first generation. The front end of the bike really builds confidence. We put some real miles on the R7 through the San Diego backcountry, and I have to say, I'm genuinely impressed with how neutral the chassis feels. Whether you're throwing it into a tight technical bend or holding the line through a fast sweeper, the bike just goes where you point it. The geometry here definitely favors those fast sweepers. There's an exceptional level of stability that just wasn't there before with the previous generation. That's likely thanks to that new high-tensile steel frame and the beefed up swing arm pivot. It feels planted, not busy. And then there's the CP2 engine. We know this motor is a torque monster, but paired with the new Yamaha chip-controlled throttle, the fueling is practically flawless. Even better, the third generation quickshifter is smooth as silk, both up and down. The torque curve is so broad and forgiving that it almost doesn't matter what gear you're in. You just twist and go. Let's be honest for a second. Just look at this thing. Yamaha didn't just sharpen the handling. They sharpened the aesthetic. With the integrated mirror turn signals, the slimmed down front fairing, and that signature M-shaped headlight duct, it looks every bit like a MotoGP Yamaha. It has that big bike presence that all the Yamaha R bikes used to be known for, but in a package that doesn't feel electronically dated anymore. Before we wrap up, we have to talk about the attention to detail on this machine. Yamaha is offering 4 colorways: Team Yamaha Blue, Raven Black, the striking Breaker Cyan Raven, which is basically a fantastic Miami Vice vibe, and the iconic white and red 70th Anniversary Edition, my personal favorite. Pictures and video really don't do this bike justice. At a glance, the MotoGP-inspired aesthetic is impossible to miss, right down to the triple clamp finish and the cockpit layout. It's genuinely impressive. It feels like a high-end product, not a budget compromise.
And should we talk for a second about the lack of wings? Maybe you're looking at this and you're sad that it doesn't have winglets all over it. And I think that's a fair point. You know, they do look really cool. But let's go back to some real-world practicality. Those winglets break easy. You tip over, someone walks by it in a parking lot, snags it on their jeans or whatever. You can break those little winglets. This I just really like that it doesn't have that. Pay attention to my riding now. We're turning.
And then there are the wheels. These are Yamaha's proprietary spin-forged aluminum wheels, which provide a 4% weight reduction. It might not sound like much, but reducing unsprung weight and decreasing the moment of inertia is exactly what gives this bike such a responsive feel, especially in corner transitions. It's a sophisticated manufacturing touch usually reserved for much more expensive machines. Now, I know I've been high on this bike today, but let's temper that with some reality. This isn't a magic wand. If you're a rider who needs high-speed compression damping adjustments to feel at home, you're going to be a little disappointed. The rear shock is still limited to preload and rebound only. Now, while the valving is improved and the revised linkage, reducing the leverage ratio at the swing arm, does a great job of settling the back of the bike down, serious track junkies will likely still be looking at an aftermarket shock as their first real mod. And despite the ergonomic tweaks, this is still a committed super sport position. If you're looking for a commuter that just looks like a race bike, this might still be too sharp for you. But for the rider who wants a stable, predictable, and technologically modern sport bike that respects a real-world budget, Yamaha has done something rare here. At $93.99, they didn't just give us bold new graphics, they fixed the bones, added a brain, and built a machine that is finally honest about what it wants to be.
My only complaint is shift lights and all this like things blinking at me telling me when to shift. Maybe if I switched the mode to something else, it would go away, but it's a little distracting. All the little blinkies down there telling you to shift. See, like right now, shift light. I'm going 4,300 RPM and it's barking at me to upshift. I know what I'm doing.
Is it perfect? No, no bike is, but let's be honest. Yamaha could have taken their best-selling bike, tweaked the body panels to make it look more like MotoGP, and it still would have been their best-selling bike. But they didn't. They listened to you, the rider, and went to great lengths to make it better. And it's impossible not to be excited about that. Let me know in the comments which color is the best, red, black, blue, or that incredible Miami Vice treatment. And what do you think Yamaha missed? Thank you, Yamaha, for letting me spend the day on your brand new R7, and thank you for watching. Ride on and ride well.